everyone, my name is Josh and welcome to WHIMs. And today I'm going to be giving you a video on the 2006 film Silent Hill, which stars Radha Mitchell and Sean Bean as a couple who adopt a child named Sharon, and she is the type of child who has a lot of sleepwalking episodes. So during a very traumatic incident, she screams the words Silent Hill. So this propels Rose, played by Radha Mitchell, to go to the town of Silent Hill and try to figure out what's going on with her. And effectively, she goes there. After a very hectic drive, she crashes her car, and she finds that when she wakes up, she is surrounded by a town that's slowly emerged in fog. And what looks to be snow, but then it turns out that these are in fact ashes that are still burning from the fire that happened many years ago. But on top of that, her daughter Sharon has gone missing, so she has to now go into this town and try to figure out what's going on. But on top of all of that, trying to figure out what's going on with this town, the town's secret past, and trying to find her daughter and what's happened to her, she's haunted by apparitions of someone who looks like her child running away from her. And she tries to figure out what's going on there, but then on top of that, she has to deal with these otherworldly monsters, including these strange baby fetus children who, whenever they scream, they let out these very they almost look like embers when they burn, or like fire embers when they burn, or when they illuminate. It's a very weird looking image. It's a very hard image to describe unless you've actually watched the film yourself. It's actually a very weird looking creature. But on top of that, she has to deal with those creatures and a man with a triangular shaped helmet called the Red Pyramid Thing, and also known as Pyramid Head. So there's all that going on, and the best way to describe this film is Alice in Wonderland meets Dante's Inferno. And if you really think about it, that actually kind of makes sense, because if you're familiar with the original Dante's Inferno, you will know that in that story, the poet Dante is going through hell with his guide Virgil, and he encounters along the way all these different personifications of people from his past, people whom he's known during his exile, people who have actually been responsible for his exile, kind of looking all warped and twisted and deformed looking, which is kind of almost the inspiration for Silent Hill. And Silent Hill is actually based on a video game series created by Konami back during the days when it was 1999 and everyone wanted to be like Resident Evil. But a small team that was formed out of this, development team was called Team Silent, and they wanted to create a more psychologically motivated game where it required the player to pretty much go on an emotional journey with the characters. And that's kind of what the film tries to do. And this film is phenomenal. I think this is probably one of the best video game adaptations out there, or one of the better ones anyway. Now we've got films like the Sonic films, the Last of Us television series, and between you and me, I really liked the Five Nights at Freddy's film, but there are tons of people who are probably very critical of that film. But I really enjoyed it. I just watched it last night, actually. So there's a lot of great video game adaptations. But for every good video game adaptation, there are the bad ones. There are the Mortal Kombats and the Mortal Kombat Annihilations. There are the there's a lot of different video game adaptations that are bad. The Resident Evil Mia Jovovich versions, they're terrible. But I think I know there are a lot of people who are really big fans of them. But I'm just not a fan of them because they're nothing like the games. But I do feel like that there are people who are huge fans of them. And I'm a huge fan of all sorts of different video game adaptations. I'm a huge fan of video games, and I'm a huge fan of all sorts of different things. So I do feel like there are good ones and there are bad ones, but this is one of the good ones. And I feel like what really makes this film work is that Christoph Gans was a huge fan of this film, and I do feel like his love and his passion for this series does sort of bleed through into the finished version. And what I really like about this film overall is it doesn't really feel like a very conventional story either. Like, it feels like when you are with Rose, you're uncovering all these different mysteries and trying to figure out what's going on. But one of my favourite scenes, which really could have sold this film to me in regards to what it's trying to do, is a scene where Rose goes into a bathroom in an old elementary school called Midwich. And she is in the bathroom and she's chasing after a child that looks like her daughter. Like, she has the same long hair, and she even is wearing a school uniform that looks like she's from the school, effectively from the Midwich school. And I really do like the fact that she goes into this bathroom and she goes into this cubicle where she thinks a child is. And then she opens the cubicle and she sees a man who is suspended from the floor with his ankles and his feet tied behind his head and secured with barbed wire. And his mouth is open and there is a notice saying, dare you, double dare you. And Rose thinks that, oh, I've got to get something from this man's mouth. But when the darkness comes, which is usually indicated by a sort of siren, um, the school starts to change. The wooden cubicles become metallic and rusted and very much decaying. And then we meet the janitor, Colin, who is, when the darkness comes, he comes alive, and he crawls out of the bathroom, and he basically has a very horrific looking design. His eyes are kind of like slits, like little dark slits, where the barbed wire has sort of blinded him. And there's also a little detail where whenever he touches the wall, it sort of turns into these horrible, almost, wart-like cysts, which, if you're familiar with, medical stuff, you'll see that those are kind of like almost like sexually transmitted diseases almost. So it is giving you a little bit of backstory, but then you're wondering, why is all of that appearing? But then when you get later on in the story, you realise that something traumatic happened with the main character of this story. Something traumatic happened with this girl known as Alessica Lesby, who was pretty much an outcast, and a very traumatic event happened to her involving this janitor. And I'm not really going to say what it is because I'm frightened of getting into trouble for it, but part of me feels like this particular scene is quite horrific, and that's basically the film's way of telling us that there's something deeper going on. That's another example of where the symbolism of this film really works and what actually is there in the overall finished film. But there's so many other good scenes like that, and I really do think Silent Hill is one of the best films where it does represent its material. Yes, it may not tell the story exactly, and it may just be like a greatest hits of Silent Hill kind of thing. But what I feel is really great about this film is it manages to still capture the feel and the tone of the stories of the Silent Hill universe without going too deep into detail and without going too deep into the lore of the games or without borrowing any of the other characters. So it does feel like a very fresh coat of paint is being added to this overall universe. And one of my favourite scenes, which really gets me weepy and really kind of makes me think that's what Silent Hill is, that's the gold standard of Silent Hill for me, is a scene where Rose is running away from the red triangle thing, or Pyramid Head, and it's cutting back between her in the darkness realm and Christopher, played by Sean Bean, in the real world, going through Silent Hill. In fact, he's at the school as well, but his world is very much filled of light, kind of like the golden hour kind of area of day, where it's just starting, the sun's starting to set, and there's a lot of orangey light going on. And he's sort of outside, he's calling Rose's name, and you see a shot of both of them outside the school, and she's running away from something with torchlight, and Christopher is just looking round, wondering where to look and where to go and where he can find her. But then you just see this shot of just a bit of black smoke just sort of wafting past him. And then he just sort of looks and he just goes, Rose. And it's such a sad moment because that they're literally in the same place. They're literally outside the school, both of them, but they can't see each other and they can't look at each other. They can't even hold each other. And that's something that's really quite sad. And it really did make me go, oh, it makes me get emotional just thinking about it. But that was sort of like the gold standard for Silent Hill to me, where you do need to have these moments that really do feel like a dagger to the heart for the player and for the viewer. And I really do like the fact that they do give you those moments. And I just think this film's phenomenal. It's a really good script, surprisingly enough, and I do think a lot of that is to do with Roger Avery, who also co-wrote Pulp Fiction with Quentin Tarantino, and a lot of his best writing is in that film as well. And I feel like that's one of the reasons why this film does so well. But I think Christoph Gans' direction is really well done, and I just really love the introduction. The whole entire look of the film is fantastic. I like the idea of when certain places get enveloped into the darkness, lots of things that were made of wood turn to metal and rusted and decayed and all of that, but then when it returns to the light, it becomes wood again. It's such an interesting idea, and it really does kind of show you the difference between these two places. And it almost feels like the fact that people said, oh, let's just make hell look like a very rusted, decaying looking environment is such an inspired idea, and I really do think that's one of the things that I really like about this film. And one more thing before I tune out, this video is always already getting to about 10 minutes. Before I tune out and say goodbye to you all for the day, the soundtrack to this film is amazing. Akira Yamamoto, his soundtrack is absolutely wonderful. Not only does he really know how to really build an atmosphere with his music, but he also manages to make you feel something as well, which I really do love. And a lot of the soundtrack is amazing. I especially love the soundtrack where Rose is looking at the maps on the street, and there's a musical chord that sounds like drums, and then it just sort of builds and builds and builds. And I've been wanting to know what that piece of music's called, so let me know in the comments what that piece of music's called, where she's looking at the maps in the street and then she finds herself going to Midwich School. I'd really love to know what that track's name is, because I love that music. I really do. It does a very good job of really kind of establishing the tone of Silent Hill, where it's both very atmospheric and very, creepy, but then it also adds this element of an adrenaline rush. Like, you almost are feeling like the main character in that moment. Like, you're just eager to want to find out these clues and solve the mystery. And I really do like that. It really does add that sort of feeling that you should feel when you're playing a Silent Hill game or watching this film. And it's just so amazing. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Silent Hill. Let me know what you guys thought of this film in the comments. And I hope you're having a very good day. And also I want to say before I close off, if you like this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos like this, please be sure to just subscribe and hit the notification bell. That's one thing I forgot in all my other videos. There is a notification bell that lets you know when my videos are coming out. Or if you want to be notified for occasional videos, you can. Or if you want to be notified for all of them, you can as well. And to quote WatchMojo, if you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications so that you know when I'm uploading a new video. But yeah, I hope you guys are all having a very good day. And I just want to let you know that because my poll ended with a 50-50 on Reader's Corner and a top 10 list, I will be doing both. But because I had really no material to show you guys this week for both Reader's Corner or the top 10 list, I thought I might as well give you this review just to tide you guys over. But I will be getting back to it with the top 10 list and my Reader's Corner short story or novel or whatever it is, or extract from my novel. So I hope you guys will tune in for that. And I hope you're all doing very well. And this has been Josh with WHIMs, and I hope you're all having a very good day. Take care. Bye-bye for now.